These first-year players are set to make an immediate impact. Today, we are breaking down 5 rookies to draft in 2024 fantasy football. But before we dig in, head over to 4for4.com, use promo code YouTube for 25% off any subscription plan.
The Arizona Cardinals select Marvin Harrison Jr.
Well, a Maserati is about to hit the showroom floor.
He's going to be ready to roll right when he gets on the field.
Is an X that comes to life and is an X factor.
There's really nothing that he can't do.
As with the line of wide receivers from Ohio State immediately ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr., Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, the former Buckeye has been in the fantasy football scope for what seems like years now. It is almost assumed at this point that if a wide receiver is entering the NFL draft from OSU or LSU, they're going to be relevant in our game, and Harrison is no exception. Harrison put up back-to-back 1,200-yard, 14-touchdown performances in his final 2 seasons with C.J. Stroud and Kyle McCord. In 2023, he led all FBS pass catchers with 11 targets from within the opponent's 10-yard line, giving us an idea of his red zone dominance. While Harrison can technically line up all over the field, it's likely that he sees a vast majority of his snaps come from out wide, where the Cardinals had a hodgepodge of options throughout the 2023 season. The main options from last season were Marquise Brown, Michael Wilson, and Greg Dortch. Of 119 qualifying wide receivers who were targeted when lined up out wide, all 3 of them ranked outside the top 80 in EPA per target. In a similar subsect of college receivers last season, 115 qualifiers, Harrison ranked 21st in yards per target, 9th in yards per reception, and 2nd in points above average when lining up out wide. Harrison will be a massive improvement to what the Cardinals were rolling out last season and offers Kyler Murray a bona fide wide receiver 1 for the first time since he had a healthy DeAndre Hopkins in 2020. The offense should experience a resurgence this year and gives Harrison legit top 10 upside.
The Las Vegas Raiders select Brock Bowers, tight end, Georgia.
Best hands of any pass catcher in the entire draft. He's a receiving entity who can block.
Gronk, Travis Kelce. That's the type of player that Brock Bowers is.
It wasn't so much Bowers' slight fall down the NFL draft board that gave fantasy managers pause, but rather who eventually took him. Projected as a possible top 10 pick from many pundits, Bowers ended up going at the 13th overall pick to the Raiders, who had just selected tight end Michael Mayer in the 2nd round of the previous draft, and it's still unclear who their 2024 quarterback is going to be. Whether Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew is the one taking the majority of the quarterback snaps this season, Bowers is still an intriguing pick considering his post-draft ADP. There may be no more exciting bet to make in fantasy football this season than a late-season breakout of Brock Bowers. No one would argue that he's not in a particularly good offense, but it's hard to believe the Raiders spent that overall 13th pick on Bowers, with Michael Mayer already on the team, for no good reason. The quarterbacks don't inspire confidence, but Bowers' athletic and collegiate profile sure do. Over his 3 years at Georgia, the tight end averaged 5.6 targets, 64 receiving yards, and 0.65 touchdowns per game, numbers that are unheard of over an entire college career at this position. This enabled him to earn the Mackey Award in each of his final 2 seasons, a fact that is not only unheard of, it has never happened before. There are almost assuredly going to be growing pains in year 1 inside this offense, but his upside and late season schedule make him a fantastic target in the 9th round.
Brooks! Goodbye! Jonathon Brooks! 54 yards for the Texas touchdown.
Brooks was ultra-productive in his 1 year as a starter after minimal playing time in his first 2 years at Texas, due entirely to sharing backfields with Bijan Robinson and Roschon Johnson. When given his opportunity, Brooks peeled off 8 straight games with at least 98 yards on the ground between weeks 3 and 11 of the 2023 season. The feel-good breakout campaign was sadly cut short during his final 100-yard performance of the season as he tore his right ACL against TCU on November 11th. His landing spot is admittedly a questionable one if we look at what the Panthers did in their first season with Bryce Young at the helm. They finished 31st in scoring offense and dead last in yardage, as the rookie quarterback struggled mightily with the league's worst supporting cast. On top of that, the offensive line finished near the bottom in most metrics, including 29th in adjusted line yards and 27th in yards before contact on running back rushes. The Panthers did what they could to identify these issues, including the additions of Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis in the middle of the line, along with the insertion of Deontay Johnson and first-round selection Xavier Leggett to the wide receiver room. When Jonathon Brooks is on the field, he will undoubtedly be the team's RB1. Fantasy drafters should be patient and enjoy the stretch run production in both redrafts and best ball leagues. If he really is ready for a full workload during opening weekend, we should just take that as an added bonus to his value.
Goes. Oh! You're looking at the fastest man in the history of the combine.
Worthy exploded onto the scene as a freshman in 2021, racking up 12 touchdowns and 8.5 yards after the catch while operating mainly from the outside. He would eventually rack up 3 straight 100-target seasons, culminating with his 1,014-yard 2023 season. Though 39% of his receptions came from behind the line of scrimmage due to his extensive usage in the screen game, he still finished with a respectable 10.3 ADOT thanks to consistent targets in the deep game. He uses 4.21 40 speed to blow by defenders both before and after the catch, finishing 5th in YAC among this draft class while accruing 71 plays of 15 or more yards during his full collegiate career. Immediate comps to Tyreek Hill are mostly unfounded, but that doesn't mean Worthy can't create separation in much the same way, or that he isn't a terror with the ball in his hands. Even if his route tree is limited in year one, his aforementioned screen game prowess meshes perfectly with the Chiefs and an Andy Reid offense. Kansas City has ranked no lower than 6th in yards gained on screen passes over the last 4 seasons, and were the most screen-heavy team in the league in 2023, ranking 1st in receptions, yards gained, wide receiver receptions, and wide receiver yards on screen plays. Xavier Worthy finds himself in a fantastic offensive environment, and though he may have some duds along the way, his upside in an Andy Reid offense lands him in the same fantasy range as teammates Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice. If Rice's suspension comes down during the season, there is even more upside here.
Pressure picked up again, launching for the end zone, caught, touchdown, Jalen Polk.
While operating as the deep threat in Washington's explosive passing offense, Polk had a massive 2023, notching 1,159 yards on 16.8 yards per reception, scoring 10 total touchdowns, including a 27-yard scamper. Polk created separation at a high level and worked all across the formation, including a near 50-50 split out wide and from the slot. This should give his professional team options as to where they want to utilize him, and boy, do the Patriots need some options. The former Husky was taken off the board in the 2nd round by New England and could easily lead the team in snaps, targets, fantasy points, and any other counting stat you can think of in year 1. Mario Douglas looked pretty good as a rookie with awful quarterback play, but he's also a 6th round selection who stands at 5'8", 192 pounds. The depth chart behind him is a who's who of cast-offs from other teams, including KJ Osborne, Jalen Reagor, and Juju Smith-Schuster. Polk has been comped to Robert Woods by multiple analysts, namely Josh Norris and Matt Harmon, and that's the kind of do-it-all upside we can see out of Polk on a team that surely needs it. Woods was also an inside-outside guy who stepped into a number 1 role when needed, specifically with his time with the Rams when he averaged 1,017 yards on 113 targets over a 4-year span. Projecting that type of usage for Polk as a rookie would be very aggressive, but we don't even need that out of a 14th or 15th round fantasy pick. He is a low-cost bet to make with upside for consistent wide receiver 3 production. To dive deeper into rookies that should be on your fantasy radar, you can find even more options that I've highlighted in these videos.